What's the future for libraries here in the East Midlands? County councillors in Leicestershire are meeting tomorrow to consider plans to hand over some of its libraries to community groups. The same thing's already underway in Lincolnshire, where many of the county's libraries are up for grabs. Our reporter Tim Parker has been taking a look at the latest chapter in the library story.
Once upon a time, 1850 to be exact, a new law allowed for public libraries across the land. For more than 100 years, there was a golden era of book lending. But with coalition government austerity since 2010, the future of our libraries is looking grim. They're increasingly seen as a soft target for spending cuts.
But could there be a twist in this tale? Libraries like this across Leicestershire are under threat, but people locally are rallying to help.
Leicestershire County Council has started the process of handing over its smaller community libraries to voluntary groups like Barrow-on-Soar Community Association.
We do believe that if the community doesn't come forward to take over the library, we will lose it, and I think that's unthinkable.
How difficult has it been to get people involved in the group?
I think actually remarkably easy. We had a public meeting in October, and out of that we had 50 volunteers, 62 people actually attended. People are very willing to make sure this happens.
Elsewhere, campaigners against changes to Lincolnshire's libraries have taken their protests to London. And despite that and legal challenges, the council has decided to hand 30 of its libraries over to volunteers. Derbyshire County Council says it's not planning to hand any of their libraries to communities to run, but Nottinghamshire is looking at the idea for some of its smaller libraries. Back in Leicestershire, in Barwell, one councillor isn't convinced this is the right way forward.
My concerns are that I think, number one, it's fantastic that voluntary groups have come forward, but I think they've done so with a gun to their head. I think the County Council have effectively said, if voluntary groups don't come forward, we will close your library.
Leicestershire County Council insists it's only fair that savings are found in libraries as well as all of its other services, but it's only just finding out which groups want to take libraries over.
We went out to talk to 30-odd community libraries, and 27 have come back and said we're really keen to take it forwards. So this is the next stage where we start to engage with them. They've all done an expression of interest, now we go into detail.
And you're not holding a gun to volunteers' heads to make this happen?
Not at all. Strange enough, there is that you have to understand that one or two may close.
The volunteers in Barrow really know how important their library can be to the local community.
At the moment, 1 in 6 adults struggle to read. I volunteer helping adults read. Now, if there's no library with books in, then how on earth are they going to develop the reading skills? It's absolutely essential that we have a library.
So will there be a happy ending? Volunteers say with the right support, there could be a brighter future. Others fear, without proper funding, libraries will close.
Well, we heard there, Heather, that a volunteer was saying that 1 in 6 adults struggles with reading. If they can't actually access a library, they're never going to learn, are they?
No, and that's why I'm so pleased with the way Leicestershire County Council have been handling this. I think it's really important. I mean, I said at the top of the programme, trust the people, and that's what this is about. Communities want to have these community facilities. 27 out of the 36 have said, yes, please, can we do something? And so Richard Blunt taking this forward is...
They want to save these services because they fear that they're going to be axed.
Well, that's fine, because if you've got communities who really embrace the big society, why not? You know, you've got the alternative, haven't you? Leicestershire County Council saying, there you are, community, do you want this? Do you want to help run it? We'll help you do that. And you've got Derbyshire County Council, Starlin is saying, no, it's nothing to do with the people, we've either got the money or we haven't, and we're cutting them. Well, that's ridiculous.
But you also have a situation then, don't you, where volunteers, those people that we saw in that film, feel that they have to jump in, because if they don't, it'll just close.
And what is your problem with that?
I'm not saying I have a problem with it, but I'm saying that's the situation.
People want facilities in their communities. People are prepared to volunteer for that. I think that's laudable.
OK, well, Graham, we're having to make cuts everywhere. Libraries have to take a share of that.
Well, like most of these cuts, they hit the poorest communities hardest, the ones who can't self-organise, they don't have that income, they don't have the ability to access computers, etc., and get together. And communities like my own in Nottingham North. And that's why when the Nottingham City Council have had its budget cut, its government contribution by half, then pain happens. And it's no good pretending volunteers can always step in and make good things that we all felt were central government services that everybody deserved in our society. And libraries, in a place like mine with low levels of literacy, where we send the fewest number of kids to university of any constituents in the UK, we depend upon these intellectual resources.
What do you think about libraries being run by volunteers then?
If we have volunteers, then they should be attached to libraries come what may, but they cannot be a substitute for the library service itself. And that's why, even though it's one of those services where it's not a mandatory service you must provide in an area, it's not statutory, that it's valued so highly in communities like mine. And I can tell you what, anyone who wants to volunteer for any of the libraries in Nottingham North, let me know, we'll put you to work and you'll be helping a lot of young children who need it.
Heather, you were shaking your head when Graham was saying that this is really affecting the poorest people in communities, really, the fact that the libraries aren't as open as they could be, as they were before.
I think that actually folk are missing a trick. When you've got a loved building under threat, then let's be innovative. Let's think about what else could be there. In lots of the villages, and I do appreciate there's a difference between, you know, South Derbyshire villages and Nottingham North or whatever, because, you know, I've got more rural bits and I get that.
Derbyshire say they're not planning to close any libraries. They haven't actually since 1992.
No, absolutely. When the Conservatives run it for 4 years, not a single library shut. In fact, we open libraries.
Well, because there's another side to this library cut
really
story,
is.
though.
But
no, because
not with volunteers,
there's also, we've worked out, an estimated 300 job losses.
Well, I do wonder if that's where
So
the
it's
story
not-
came from, with the unions putting that point of view. But actually, I'm more interested in the villages taking on these facilities.
That's actually from the county council.
Yeah, well, there you go. And taking up, you know, making the building the centre, the hub of the village, so that you have the post office that's shut, opening that up again, a village shop, opening that up again. Why not?
Well, not everyone's happy with that. That's probably why not.
Some things are just
27 out of 36.
some-
That's a big majority that are.
Some things are just too valuable not to be done properly, and letting our young people learn to
Okay,
read
we'll
and
have
write
to
is
leave
the
it
main